George Ralph, Managing Director. Thank you for joining me today. So first of all, let's talk a bit about 2020. It must have been, you and RFA must have been in huge demand this year.
Yes, absolutely. I think the key thing for us was really around, I think keeping the lights on is the wrong phrase to use, but it's really around reacting to clients' needs, not just in technology actually, but around things like HR and business processes. A lot of work around updating BCP plans because everyone's in the BCP plan, so what's the BCP plan when you're already in it? A lot of work around that. We as a business, obviously we've got almost 300 staff in various regions around the world, so there's a lot of HR work around, not bad levers for us or anything like that, but logistics of people. A lot of our clients continued as if nothing had happened and continue to, so we had to manage where we're going to put staff, how we're going to get them to look after the clients if it needed a physical on-site presence. So we had to develop our own apps for track and trace to help us and our clients and bits and pieces like that. So a lot of it was around HR, logistics, making sure we kept going with clients, making sure that some of their projects got accelerated, some got put on hold, that kind of thing. So it was a lot more work for us, but it was around BAU stuff rather than new.
And while all of this was going on behind the scenes effectively within RFA, how have you also been working towards achieving the business IT goals for your clients?
A lot more around centralisation of data and also decentralisation of cybersecurity. So one of the great things is we've already decentralised cybersecurity. One of the things with working in the sector we work in is you've always got, a planned approach to the most at-risk people, which is essentially people in marketing or those doing fundraising, DDQs. They're always on the road. So we've always focused our cybersecurity tools and the protection of data, of our clients' data, around those that are on the move. So it was quite easy for us to sort of spread that out across the clients and their staff.
And in terms of clients, how many of them have had dramatically changing needs, or how many of them were already working with the correct technology to help them through the pandemic this year?
I'd say probably 85% already had the right tech. You've then got 15% plus new clients that we're bringing on this year. We've still grown well compared to our peers this year. I'd say probably outgrown. But if you imagine a lot of the firms where we take over from another IT firm, so not necessarily startups or smaller, they're doing that because their technology is not working. And a lot of those guys, they've got the traditional, servers in a comms room, people are logging in via VPN to a firewall, that kind of thing. And so the projects for onboarding people have had to be accelerated because a lot of them are coming to us because they literally can't work. That's been a challenge for them and us.
So for some firms, some managers, cybersecurity and cloud technology have been a real game changer this year.
Yes.
So how have they responded in terms of their day-to-day working life? Has everybody been able to pivot and take on board the new systems and work successfully?
Yes and no. So technology-wise, yes, definitely. It's already tried and tested for us. We've been doing it for 4 or 5 years in terms of public cloud, decentralised cyber. The key thing has been moving people from, say, a traditional file server that they might have had in their office to using a collaboration tool for sharing files and working together. So things like Teams, OneDrive on Demand, SharePoint, Ignite, all of these products that allow people to work remotely securely. It's been training people around the impact of the governance on it. So making sure they understand that even though they're working from a laptop, maybe on a beach, but probably in their home, we still know everything that's going on with the movement of the data. That's the best form of prevention, is kind of setting an expectation for people from a security perspective. And then traditional managers who have been working in this space for 20 or 30 years, used to having a map drive where you just click on a file and it opens, now to going to a solution where you can chat to your team, work on a file together live, which automatically saves, or if you're caught short with no corporate device, having to log on in an internet cafe but in a secure way through a browser, how the flow of opening that file works, it's very different. So a lot of what we've done is training, and obviously cybersecurity training, just to make sure that people's awareness is kept up. But that's been the key thing, is training people on the new tech.
And just as everybody gets used to that new technology, something else comes along invariably. So what do you think the next iteration of the cloud is going to look like?
I think it's going to be further movement around collaboration. So we've got the basics of collaboration, which is electronic communication, right? We've always had email. Now we're going into kind of live chat, which is probably spurred from things like WhatsApp. People expect an immediate answer. Even Teams now, you can see whether someone's read your message or not. So it's going that way from a corporate perspective. I think it's going to be more focused on collaboration between the third-party vendors, which we've always called integration. It's going to be around centralising the tool sets people have got, centralising the data, people like us working more collaboratively with the fund administrators, the providers of the investor portals, the data warehouses, so that actually from a user perspective it looks like a single collaborative platform. And so a lot of the work we've already started doing, which will go heavily into next year probably, is around making sure that data's in a central place and secure, and all of the APIs and the integration and the dashboards are working.
So do you see any other areas that will require investment for development for the managers through sort of 2021 and beyond, I suppose? It's
going to be that integration. So data integration between all of the different providers. I'm already working on strategy with 22 of our clients where I sit as CTO, looking at how the applications can be streamlined. We have one PE firm, relatively small, about 4 billion AUM. They're sat in Lux and UK, so they're kind of used to working disparately. But they've got 17 different providers of software products. Where actually 4 of those providers can do everything all 17 can do. So there's like a simplification exercise to secure the data and centralise. And then from our perspective, we're building what we call the Power App Suite, which is it's Microsoft offer a Power Suite as well, which is about giving them the visibility to the data to make better decisions. We've extended it into sort of HR processes, remuneration, calculations, all of those kind of things, so people have got data on the go from an app. That's going to continue to grow. I think the other thing will be more of a focus around cybersecurity on behavioural analysis, something we've been doing for a couple of years, helping the HR teams get like proactive nudging, if that's the right word, for people who might be thinking about leaving the organisation, they start using files differently, that kind of thing. So I think those are the 2 areas that will be a focus of next year, definitely. Okay,
you mentioned there working as an outsourced CTO for some of RFA's clients. So it feels like outsourcing has sort of, I suppose, shown its true value through 2020 by the use of external subject matter experts. That's something as well that we would expect to continue through 2021? I
think more so. The fact that a lot of firms are just getting rid of their offices. They don't feel like they need it, whether that's long term or for 6 or 12 months. It means that the outsourcing model for C-level operations roles works well. There's been, I think, 5 or 6 outsourced COO and CFO firms that have opened in the last 4 months. A lot of my clients who have, they're at that kind of emerging manager stage where they're doing a lot of fundraising, the COO is one of the roles that never really comes to the office unless they're really established. So I think that definitely. CTO role, I mean, it is definitely a role to outsource because it's not a full-time role. CIO role, obviously they need to be there and very ingrained. The CISO role, so Chief Information Security Officer, that's definitely something people want to outsource. I mean, you don't start recruiting for that role unless you've got way too much money, or you're like 200 users plus, or you've breached the 10 billion mark. So it will continue, definitely.
And that must be an area people are so much more concerned about now, cybersecurity. So they know that they need the expertise, but not necessarily full time.
Yes.
And let's talk about people in general. How does, with everybody working, whether we call it a fractured workforce or a hybrid workforce or people working from satellite offices or whatever you want to call it, we still need to enable interaction between individuals within a business, their investors, their suppliers, clients, whatever. How can technology help? We spoke a bit about collaboration. How can technology really help that?
It's that. It's more collaboration, right? But it's not necessarily just the chat part of collaboration, and it's not even necessarily the collaboration on files. It's about giving people the information in advance. So things like integration of, investor portals, but maybe starting to give the investors a little bit more insight and information, which is where the integration and the collaboration between the third-party vendors comes in, because you're then getting further insights into the data. I think the other element of it is really the extension actually of due diligence of cyber to the third parties, right? So we've started getting questionnaires ready even for directors, because they're the ones who normally just have a laptop and they're saving files locally. Looking at information rights management, so if they are sharing files with directors, for example, they expire after 3 days. So even if they forward them to someone else after 3 days, it can't be read. Trying to use online e-signature tools so that these files aren't sent out. Having sort of browser-based read-only tools. So it's further collaboration of the data, not necessarily restricting people's use of the technology by completely locking it down, which was the old way of doing it, and allowing people to get further insight into the data because the managers know that it's safe.
Okay, so let's talk about RFA themselves. How have you worked towards your business goals in 2020, and how do you intend to keep doing so in 2021?
Our business goal really for the last, I'd say 36 months, has been geographical growth. And there's a reason for that. We're one of the last firms who aren't private equity owned across our peers, if not the last, right? And we have no plans to change that. And with that comes the opportunity to have a really bespoke service around white glove support, right? That's our bread and butter, is making sure that we're looking after the clients. If they've got issues, we resolve it quickly for a longer term fix, right? We're not plastering over issues. And to do that, it means we don't use contractors. Everyone's a full-time employee. So as we work with larger and larger firms, we're almost regulated in Luxembourg now, which means we're working with large fund administrators as well. We're not talking about hundreds of users, we're talking about thousands of users, most of which have 20 plus offices for various reasons. Domiciles for the funds are there, it could be there's data governance rules because they have an office in those locations. And so we have to focus on our growth in headcount in the regions to make sure we're there. If we had contractors or third parties we use, then we could just kind of outsource it, but then you have no control. You can't control the quality. And a lot of the bigger firms we're working with, the reason they want to work with us is exactly that. So that goal this year obviously has slowed down because there hasn't been a need. They're all working remotely anyway. So we're starting to pick that up again now already. We've opened another office this year as well in India, which was in collaboration with one of our big PE clients. And that was because we needed RFA staff on site for their centre of excellence. So that goal, although it's slowed down this year, hasn't stopped. In terms of our R&D, we've pumped more money back into our business for research and development this year to help with the collaboration of data. That team's grown by about 17 people this year. The IT managers for clients in London alone has grown by 9 people in the last 4 months. So it's continued investment in the people, those that we have and the new ones, to really make sure that we're ahead of the curve when it comes to new clients that have needed us.
And one of your features as a leader of the business is to really focus on the people that you work with at RFA and to help develop them. So that must have been, or taken quite a lot of your time over the last year.
It's something I'm passionate about. I think a lot of IT people have a bad rep. Yes, some of us do have poor social skills, but it's because we're often sat in a room at night learning the next technology. It's evolving so fast. There isn't enough time in the day to learn and do the job. So people have to be passionate about learning, otherwise they just get stagnant. So I've been an assessor for the British Computer Society now since 2005, the Institute for IT. So I interview people who want to become chartered IT professionals, and we have a clear structure around career, progressive development, all of this kind of stuff. So I try and take all my skills from that role and the responsibilities that it brings to our sector to try and help the staff at RFA grow as well. We've got lots of e-learning tools that people can use. We've got labs, test environments, and the R&D group take their ideas from every single engineer at RFA. So it's quite integrated. It's important you do that because if they stop learning, then we stop adding value. So it's one of the key goals.
And for your London team specifically, they've got a new office to look forward to?
Yeah, so part of our growth just in London is obviously providing additional space to staff, not just because of social distancing, but actually we're up to 70 people here now in 5 years, and that's quite a lot of growth in headcount. The current office takes about 50 people, so we're very squeezed. At the moment we've only had 10 to 15 people in a day, so it's actually been fine, but we want to prepare, we want to progress. We're still in Berkeley Square, so we're in the hub of where all our clients are. And the other point of the way that we work collaboratively with our clients and partnership is that they're always able to book meeting rooms in our offices. And we've only had 2 to date, so the new office has got 5. We've got hot desking areas for clients as well. We've got a lounge room that overlooks Berkeley Square that clients can reserve for investor meetings in a more relaxed environment where they can whiteboard and do ideas and things. So it's about taking things to the next level, I think.
And how about for the wider RFA worldwide in 2021? What are your ambitions?
At the moment, we're doing more focus on marketing as a whole, but not necessarily marketing just for the brand's sake in a traditional way. It's more about using the marketing facilities we have, so things like the website, social media, to try and proactively teach clients new skills, to help them understand the resilience of the tools they're using from third parties, share news with them in a more proactive manner where they can go and seek out the information on our website, for example, and further build on top of our dashboards, so they're not just looking at information around their infrastructure, but they're looking across their peers to see how competitive they are in the space with their technology usage. Make the technology strategies that we're providing face-to-face in IT committee meetings and risk meetings and things more publicly available to them. So setting up alerting tools so they get notifications on their phones when there are outages with things like Azure and AWS, which luckily doesn't happen often, but when it does, people need the information. So just being more sharing to the sector really, and not hiding information because we want people to pay for it, but just giving it out. The more information and education people have, the more the sector will advance, not just our clients, but everyone.
George, thank you very much for joining us. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.